Merhabalar Aslanım.
Merhabalar, hoş geldiniz. Good evening.
Hi, Ashley.
Or good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yes, it's okay. Thank you.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I am fine too, thank you.
Very good.
I will invite more teachers. Just
Very
give,
good.
just give me 2 minutes. And by the way, İlayda Eskitioğlu is here. Sorry.
Hello. No worries, Aslanım. Hello, everyone. I'm Ilayda. I'll be one of the conductors of this very nice program. It's wonderful to be a part of this project.
Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you. Same.
Yes. First of all, thanks for accepting giving webinar with us. And you must have known that we have started an e-twinning project called Hi,
Hi.
good evening,
Hello.
hello. I think we have 5 more minutes to start. So let's just wait for about 2 or 3 minutes. Then we can start. If you agree, İlayda.
Yes.
I say
Okay.
By the way, our webinar
Oh.
is being recorded now. So if you do not want to your face or your profile to be in the webinar, you can mute it, you can unmute it, you can hi,
Hello.
welcome.
Thank you.
By the way, our chat will be available during the webinar. You can write your messages, you can write your questions there. I will frequently check these areas. At the end of the webinar, we will ask these questions to İlayda, our host, right? Can we wait about 3 minutes? I think there will be more to come. Yes, thank you.
Syria.
Hi, Christina. Thank you for joining.
Aslı Hocam merhabalar, hoş geldiniz.
Beni duyabiliyor musunuz Aslı Hanım?
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome.
Merhaba. Hoş bulduk. Thank you so much Aslı Hanım for your invitation.
First of all, thanks for accepting our offer.
Of course, İlayda Hanım is also here with us today.
Yes, we have
Yes.
talked here. And I think we have enough teachers here.
Hı hı, hı hı.
More they come, I will admit them. So if we could start.
Sure. We could definitely start. Okay, I'm going to introduce myself, and then in the second section, İlayda Hanım is going to do her presentation, and she's going to present herself. First of all, I would like to thank Aslı Hanım for her kind invitation. We are very happy with İlayda Hanım to be here with you, dear teachers, today. As it was announced to you, we are going to talk about, with a brief seminar, on the gender equality in education. Obviously, gender equality in education is a very extended topic, obviously. So we had to focus on a certain area of it. And we have discussed what we could do with İlayda Hanım, and we decided that we are going to present you a seminar based on the actors involved in the process of gender equality in education and educational institutions, and the content of education, which is equally and very important. I'm going to talk about the actors involved in the process, and İlayda Hanım is going to talk about the content of education. So obviously, when I say actors involved in the process of gender equality in education, I'm sure there are quite a lot of different actors that you are thinking of, right? Today, I'm going to focus on 3 of them, and I'm going to discuss what could we do, or what could they do to improve gender equality in educational settings, also mostly in schools, obviously. So the first group of people I'm going to discuss are obviously, as you would expect, teachers, also your colleagues. And the second actors involved are those who need to be positively reinforced, also students. And finally, a group that is mostly ignored, however, which I think are very, very important actors in the process of provision of gender equality, parents, obviously. So there needs to be a certain collaboration. By saying collaboration, I would like to underline something. What I'm going to mention now, also what could institutions do for these actors, or what could they do for themselves, is extremely important for each different group. However, without the collaboration in between these groups, unfortunately, there will be quite a lack of contribution. So we should definitely underline the importance of the collaboration of these actors. We could add more actors here, obviously governments, like government projects, right? International and national NGOs, very important. Schools themselves, right? Management of the schools, etc., etc. So it's a very extended issue when we are talking about actors involved. However, obviously, as I have said, due to our, since we have to finish our presentation in a certain time, I'm going to present about these 3 groups. Teachers, what can be done to actually reinforce teachers or help them, support them to actually going to a route which is more gender equal, and also teaching this gender equality to their students? What can be done? Obviously, my main theme today is raising awareness. Raising awareness for or in terms of gender equality is a very important step regarding its expected reflections in society.
Oddio, farò tutto in inglese così capisco un cavolo, speriamo bene.
Sorry, I cannot speak Spanish. Sorry about that. I can't speak Spanish. as I have said, raising awareness is very important when it comes to actually also rising gender equality in the context of education. Turn off the volume of your microphones. There is quite a lot of background noise. Thank you very much. What can be done for teachers? First of all, I'm sure there are some instances in which teachers are being given seminars about like gender equality to raise awareness. So these are all very good. Like I'm all for like seminars or presentations. What I think is actually first, interactive organizations are very important to increase gender awareness. And two, the interaction between teachers for the sharing of experiences, to discussing the problems they face, and to discuss the potential solutions they could find for reinforcing gender equality in educational settings is extremely important. Of course, there should be training, there should be seminars, there should be certain levels of education for teachers to raise their awareness concerning gender equality and to teach them how to raise students' awareness regarding gender equality. But I'm all for being interactive. I myself, as a trainer, also outside of my university, in terms of gender equality, in particularly private institutions, I would definitely suggest to have more interactive organizations. What does that mean? For example, workshops given by experts in which there's an active interaction between the presenter and the teachers, where there are fruitful discussions, or roundtable discussions, very important, roundtable discussions. For example, in a previous project of mine, I have used this strategy and it was very, very beneficial for the participants. What does that mean? Settings where there is no one else, so that teachers will be feeling confident and free to speak their minds. And just having one other teacher to be the moderator and just discussing the gender inequality issues they are facing as teachers and gender equality issues they observe among students, these two important things. So gender inequalities they are facing themselves and gender inequalities they are observing among students. So that in a setting where they could freely speak, they could interactively discuss and find solutions, which I find very beneficial. Another important point is definitely, let's say there are certain seminars. Within these seminars, provision of facts are extremely important, by which I mean statistics. Sometimes when we do not see the numbers, the percentages, the rates, we are not fully comprehending what is going wrong. However, for example, how would you feel if I tell you, this is a fact by the way, in Turkey, only 2.7% of women were in managerial positions in 2019. This is the statistics provided by Turkish Statistical Institute, right? So if I'm giving you a seminar and if I say, there are many, let's say I'm saying this to you, there are many issues surrounding women in managerial positions in Turkey, and there are not many women in managerial positions in our country. Well, this is effective, this is explanatory. However, if I come to you and if I tell you only 2.7% of women are in managerial positions, then you are like, wow, like there is an issue here, you know? So I think even in seminars which are not interactive, presenting facts, statistics are extremely important to raise awareness among and for teachers in terms of gender equality. Moving on to the issue of students. Well, as you could imagine, it is very, very important to raise awareness among young people, because it means that you are actually preparing these young individuals to be members of society, adult members of society in the future. So as teachers, you have a very, very important duty in terms of that. What can be done? What can you do, for example, as suggestions? Again, learning interactively is extremely important, and it helps students to keep in mind what they have learned. For example, as teachers, obviously with the approval of your institutions, you could do movie screenings, for example. In the Turkish context, there's a suggestion I could give to you. In Turkish, it's Umudun Kızları. In English, it's Girls of Hope. It's about the lack of access to education experienced by young girls in Turkey. And it's very, very upsetting, but it's reality. It's a sad reality. And I don't know anyone who would watch this and not raise their awareness in terms of the seriousness of the issue. So movie screenings for young people is a good way to like show them the importance of gender equality in general and in education. Again, I'm going back to workshops. Doing interactive workshops are very important for students, but what I mean by interactive for students here, giving them certain roles, teaching them and helping them to understand empathy, right? For example, giving them certain scenarios in which they will see how inequality affects individuals and societies and groups of people. So these kinds of, like to increase awareness, these kinds of interactive, playful actually, and fun activities are very important to raise awareness among students concerning gender equality. Well, obviously for students, content of education is extremely important, but that's İlayda Hanım's topic, obviously. And finally, parents. If parents are not involved in the process, then the process is not complete. Socialization process is an extremely important process in which with the observations children and young adults make, and with everything they see from their parents, are reflected in their understanding of the concept of gender. Therefore, the awareness of parents should also be definitely raised. And obviously, there are many different like actors responsible for raising awareness of parents. However, I believe that schools and obviously teachers can contribute to this process as well. There could be certain parent-specific organizations, again, like interactive workshops, seminars, movie screenings. And I do believe that parents will definitely enjoy that and feel appreciated. And also, I think that like parent-teacher meetings are a very good setting in which teachers could provide notions on the importance of gender equality to parents, reminding parents that they are the primary role models of their children, and that gender equality regarding, for example, domestic division of labor or one's language, right? Language is extremely important. Like gender equality as well as inequality is produced and reproduced in language. So giving small briefings to parents about the importance of our language, importance of being good role models in terms of gender equality, reminding them that they are the most important role models of their children is extremely important. And as I have said, I think that like parent-teacher meetings are a very good setting in which you could also, for example, share the problems you observe among students in terms of gender inequality. So you could share these problems that you observe in these settings as well, so that parents will also be aware of what is going on. But my last suggestion to you before leaving the stage to İlayda Hanım, my suggestion to you is not just providing or showing them the problems you observe, but also please do your best to raise awareness and please do show them the way towards the solution of these problems. Thank you so much.
Aslanım, thank you. Can we move on with
Of course, İlayda
Bilal?
Hanım can, yes, continue.
Thank you very much, Aslı Hocam, Aslı Hanım. It is indeed wonderful to be among you today, role models like you, to be contributing to this this little seminar that we're having. I am a PhD researcher of Koçkam, who's one of the partners of this project. But apart from it, I have also been selected as one of the young leaders by United Nations for Sustainable Development Goals recently, which was a great honor. But the most important thing, the most important activities that we're doing as part of my role within this United Nations project is that we're discussing ways with young advocates and activists on how to build a more gender equal education program within our own communities. So this is actually a perfect match. After the very comprehensive and very well said points of Aslı Hoca, I just want to add a few tips and tricks that you can use as teachers to kind of review, critically analyze, and hopefully recreate your curriculum and educational materials throughout your work with the children. And these are gatherings of some tips and some recommendations that I've gathered from my notes from previous conferences that I've attended, organized by UNESCO or UN Women. So I will try to focus on one particular aspect of recreating and changing the contents and materials, and that will be reviewing the teaching and learning materials and focusing on the curriculum. The content of textbooks and other teaching materials should be examined, preferably before every educational semester, to ensure that they can indeed reflect gender equality properly. Often we do not notice the gender or cultural discrimination that teaching and learning texts and materials it may include. So reviewing teaching and learning materials can be done by asking ourselves a list of questions. I will just share a few examples. For example, you can start asking questions about the materials, such as how frequently are male and female characters portrayed, for example, in a literary piece that I want my students to read throughout summer. Or does the math textbooks only include images and names of boys? This can seem like a very small detail, but actually these little details are indeed the universes of these children. And even hearing more girl names in mathematic problems can change perspectives quite remarkably. It is also important to keep in mind how male and female characters are portrayed in the educational materials and the novels and the literary pieces. Are males and females presented in stereotypically gendered roles? If these are historical texts, how might I teach students to be critical of the limitations in the gender roles presented in these texts? For example, this has been quite problematic in the Turkish context because throughout the public education curriculum, Turkish students often learn about Ottoman history 80% of the year. And personally speaking, I never learned about a woman leader or the situation of women within an Ottoman society until I started college, basically. Other questions that we can ask ourselves are only girls shown doing housework? How are roles and relationships between males and females portrayed? Is the mother always telling the children what to do? Is the father always disciplining children? What adjectives are used to describe male and female characters? Are females ever referred to as strong? Are males ever referred as caring, etc.? You can also take a look at if you have a classroom library, for example, or if you are contributing to the library of the school, is there a balance in male and female authors? Are there plenty of books with strong female protagonists? Do the nonfiction books feature notable women and girls? These are important questions to help ourselves to review and find the problematic aspects. Of course, an issue that we have to keep in mind is sometimes you just have to give the prescribed list of books, list of materials that are given to you by the ministries or by the board of executives that you're not a part of. So you may not have a say in the list of the materials, but you can still solve this by sparing maybe 5 to 10 minutes within a class to discuss about the problematic aspects regarding gender equality of the materials. So you may not change the materials every time, but you can, of course, start gender inclusive and gender reflective discussions within the classroom. It's as easy as starting to ask a few questions to students and learning what they think. A couple of, and I will be finishing in a few minutes, a couple of tips and tricks that could be helpful are, for example, using time deliberately and making sure that you are aware of the number of female students you call on, for example. You have to be incredibly proactive in making sure that all students, regardless of gender, ethnicity, or learning abilities, are equitably included within the discussion. You can also call out sexist notions or terminology in texts used in the classrooms proactively by yourself if the students are not reacting. Also, you can create networks among your colleagues and, for example, invite one of your colleagues to one of your classrooms to watch you teach and note which students are being asked questions and what types of questions are there. So these are just a few tips and tricks and recommendations that I've gathered from the previous conferences that I've attended, focusing on SDG 4, quality education. And one last suggestion is, I personally work on the area of period poverty and doing some work on destroying the stigma around menstruation in Turkey. If your students are around those ages, if they're preteens, if you have students who have started to experience menstruation, for example, even though if you're not responsible for sex education, you can still spare some time within your lessons and have discussions about menstruation or puberty in the mixed class with both boys and girls in order to contribute to destroy the stigma around menstruation, around puberty, and facilitating discussions around these topics. So these are the main points that I will be making. Unfortunately, due to limited time, I haven't been able to get into details much, but hoping that these will be helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, İlayda Hanım and Aslı Hanım. Thank you for these great presentations. I have noted down some tips from your presentations. I think you are, as everything starts in the family, you have stressed the importance of parents in the gender equality process as a very natural. And by giving students playful activities, like as Aslan states, giving them scenarios to experience this gender inequality process, and then in rather than stressing on problems, giving them solutions or helping them to find the way to solutions within their areas, within their family, are the key importance, I think.
Yes, definitely, Aslı Hanım. For example, the problem versus solution issue is very important, I think. For example, if parents are just presented the problem, then they would be just upset and they would be like, okay, but what can we do? But maybe they are not always able to ask what can we do. So therefore, I think that teachers have a very important and valuable role in which you guide parents towards the importance of gender equality and what can they do at home, I think.
Yes, I think teachers plays a very crucial role in that, because you have to rebuild yourself, rebuild your beliefs in gender equality, and then you must take the position of the parents in the eyes of the students. It is very contradictory, and it's very hard to accomplish and to do the things right. So thank you for your great presentation. And
Thank you.
I want to note that in our project, in our e-tuning project, we are beginning to write an action plan with the European teachers. It is very basic action plan, but I think by doing this action plan, by filling out this with the students and act on according to the plan, will be a great way to start. And with your tips, we will do additional activities to our e-tuning project like this. Thank you for them.
I'm very happy to hear that, Aslı Hanım. And congratulations on the project. It's a very valuable and very important one because as İlayda Hanım and I have said, teachers have a mediating role between like students, parents, society, and like as an academic, I mean, for example, whatever, I mean, everything İlayda Hanım has mentioned, I do in my classes, for example. Sometimes I'm letting my students read a paper, but then we notice something gendered. I always say that it's a very gendered one. And it happened a couple of weeks ago, for example. It happens all the time. Or, for example, one of my students say something gendered. And I always warn them, not in a nice way, of course, very gently, very gently. They don't do it on purpose, obviously. They have certain like values and norms that have taken from their childhood and on. So I always warn them gently. I show them the right way. I show them why it is important to support and reinforce gender equality. But there's a but here. But I work at a college. It might be too late. I mean, maybe not always too late, but I think that teachers have a very important role, particularly those in like primary education, secondary education, high school, because it is the time when their gender norms are being established and being internalized. So that's why I believe that in terms of reinforcing students towards gender equality, I think teachers have even a more important role than academics, because, well, when students come to us, they are adults at the end of the day. Of course, we could still show them the right way, but teachers' role is extremely valuable in terms of that.
Even though when the teacher does the warning or correcting the language, it is the teacher itself. For me, especially, you get labeled by your colleagues, by your directors, managers. It is a long way to go.
Yes, yes.
In Turkey, especially.
Definitely, definitely.
I have talked much, sorry for that. If you have any questions to ask for our presenters, you can get those questions. You can raise hand. I think, let me check. I think there is no one to ask.
Then I would like to say something. Maybe İlayda Hanım would like to add something as well. Please never underestimate your individual efforts. That's something I observe a lot. But believe me, even if you change the outlook of one parent towards gender equality, even if you improve one student's approach towards equality of genders, you have done a great work, because that person, student, parent, it doesn't matter, or a colleague, another teacher, that person is going to affect another person, and that other person is going to affect the other one. So there will be a butterfly effect, so to speak. So please never underestimate your personal efforts. They are equally important and valuable of more macro level steps. Maybe İlayda Hanım. would like to add something.
Aslı Hocam, it was perfectly put. I just only want to add, the first time I started thinking about gender equality really was thanks to a recommendation by a very idealistic literature teacher that I had in middle school. She offered that I should read The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. And starting from there, I got interested in feminist literature, and now I'm studying human rights law from a gender equality perspective. So definitely we are very lucky to have teachers like you, and we need more teachers like you. Thank you very much for investing your time and efforts to put together this wonderful project.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And congratulations, Aslı Hanım, on this project. And thank you so much, dear teachers, for being with us today and for taking time to be with us in this seminar.
Yes, thank you for your great presentations. I hope to see you again.
I hope to see you again too. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Thanks.
Thank you.